Hello, good afternoon everyone. Welcome back to the G-Bon Kitchen. You're here with me, Chef Martin. We're going to be down here cooking again today. A couple more easy recipes that you can go ahead and throw together. They're quick, probably take about 10 minutes each. And you can put it together for a quick little meal for yourself or for your family. You can go ahead and prepare them ahead of time, make them for your family. Today we're going to be doing some tuna meatballs. Just to cut down on a lot of that fat from your traditional red meat meatballs. And we're gonna utilize just some canned tuna that you probably have at home. And so we'll jump into that real quick before we do our other recipe. And so first thing first, you want to go ahead and we're just gonna take some breadcrumbs. They're gonna help us bind all the tuna together. And we're gonna go ahead and soak them in a little bit of milk first. This is just to moisten them up, get them back into action. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to throw in probably about like 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons of minced onion. I definitely recommend using a fresh onion as opposed to the dried stuff. If you were going to use the dried stuff, I would say go ahead and throw it in with your breadcrumbs and let them moisten in that and come back to life a little bit. So let's get our onion ready. Get all that. So we're just going to go ahead and dice this as fine as possible. Another little chop this way. You'll notice that I'm leaving the back end on, not cutting all the way through. That way it's just easier to hold when you're going to mince it. And then I'll just turn it around this way and get up in there. And once you get to that end part, you'll still have some long pieces together, so you can just go ahead and turn them around sideways and go ahead and dice them again. Mince them up, get them real nice and small. So we'll go ahead and get our onions up here in the bowl. And to our onions, we're going to go ahead, we're going to add about half a teaspoon of dried garlic. And then about 1 teaspoon of oregano. So we'll get those in there. And then we're going to add 1 egg to it. Get our egg up in there. If you like, break it into a separate bowl first if you're not too good at making sure the shells don't get all crumbled up in there. And then you're going to take this and you're just going to go ahead and whisk them all together. You want to make sure you get that yolk nice and broken up. And get it thoroughly mixed. Once you got it mixed, we'll just leave that right there. We're going to go back to our breadcrumbs that they've soaked up most of the milk. And if you want, if you use a lot of milk, you can just go ahead and give them a squeeze and get out any of that extra milk that's in there. Just because we don't want our meatballs too milky. So get those breadcrumbs up in there. There we go. This. And then you're just gonna go ahead and break those breadcrumbs up and get them all mixed up with the eggs and everything. And that you definitely want to make sure you get in there with the fork and split all those up so you don't have any big chunks of just breadcrumbs in there. That won't be a good texture in the final product. Okay, so we got that all up in there seasoned. Now we're just gonna take 2 cans of tuna. We'll go ahead and open them up, drain out all that extra juice in there. And then we'll go ahead and mix it up with our breadcrumb mixture over here and all our seasonings. So let's see. We got one. Second one. We'll just take these over to the sink, drain off that extra liquid in there. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and just add them right into that mixture. There's one. And get the other one up in there. Make sure you got all the tuna out of the inside. Then you're going to go back and break that tuna down and get it mixed up with all those breadcrumbs in there. And at this point, I would definitely recommend try to break it down as much as possible. The more you break it down, the better the meatballs are going to stick together. Get that. At this point, if you want, you could also add some fresh herbs up in here. Some parsley would look nice and green. Or even fresh oregano if you could find it. Would be a good addition. Okay. So now we got that all nice and broken up. We're just going to go ahead and form our meatballs. Usually I like to get like a good handful. You can make them whatever size you want. And at this point you want to go ahead and squeeze them together and squeeze out any extra liquid that's in there. If there's like extra milk or juice from the tuna, that's just going to help them stick together when you bake them in the oven. So we're just going to go ahead and form them. Make yourself nice little meatballs just like that. So let me get up here and make a couple more. If they break apart in your hand, just go ahead and reform them. Squish them together again and you're good to go. This is the part of the process where you really want some helpers. So if you got kids in the house, go ahead and wash their hands off and get them up in here. Kids always like to squish things together. It's almost like making a snowball in the middle of the summer. Okay, get them together. Whee. Now these are fairly quick, easy to make. It's a simple process, and you could go ahead and make these ahead of time and freeze them or keep them in the fridge for a day or so, and then if you knew you were going to have a party or company over, you could easily just pull them out and reheat them. Okay, keep going up here. A couple more we got up in here. Make sure there's enough for everybody at this party we're going to have. Okay. And I think one more we'll get out of here. Some of that liquid out. And actually I think we'll get one more. Might be a small one, but that's okay. It's a little sample size we'll throw together right here. Okay, get that in our pan, get this out of the way. Go ahead, wash your hands off. Don't want that tuna juice all over the place. And to this, we're just gonna make a sauce by just adding some diced tomatoes to it. We're just gonna pour it right over the tomatoes. And this is good because you can get some low salt tomatoes or like that, or just fresh tomatoes if you got them at home. And it'll pull the flavor. The tuna is actually gonna flavor the tomatoes. So all that oregano and onions and stuff in there, while it's baking, all that flavor is going to be sucked up by the tuna and the breadcrumbs. So this we're just going to throw it into a 375 degree oven for about 15 minutes or so. and just let it all cook together and all those flavors combine. So that in there. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead, we're going to move on to our second recipe of the day. And today we're going to be making like a pasta out of some canned chicken. And instead of an Alfredo sauce or anything, or a red sauce, we're going to be making a sauce out of just some beans. So we'll get that started. We're going to use probably about one small onion. So I'll take that half. Get another one over here. Onions are something I always like to have around. They last for a long time out of the fridge, as long as they're sealed. So let's see. Get that onion going good. There we go. And you can use them in a lot of different dishes. They're a good base for most things, as long as you like them. Okay, so for this, we're just going to do like a rough chop on these, just so our final sauce will have some texture to it. Just chopped up. Chop up the ends. So for this sauce, we're going to go ahead, you want to go ahead and heat up a pan, get it nice and hot, and then we're going to throw in about 2 teaspoons of, today we're going to be using olive oil. You could also do it with like vegetable oil or canola oil. And get that in there. All you really need is about the size of a $half, just to coat the bottom of the pan so everything doesn't stick in there. Okay. So now we're getting that nice and hot. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and throw our pasta in to cook. Now today we're using like a vegetable pasta. You can also use whole wheat or whatever you have on hand. It's good. So you want to go ahead and get your water boiling. Some people like to salt it to add flavor. It's not really necessary depending on your diet. You might not even need it. Some people add oil to it so it doesn't stick. I really don't do that. I'll just go ahead and once the water's boiling, I always boil the water first. You want to put it in enough water so you don't bring down the cooking temperature too much. And once you get in there, my trick for not getting it to stick is that first like minute and a half, I'll make sure I'm stirring it. Like periodically, I won't stir it for the whole 90 seconds, but I'll go in there, give it a little stir, mix it around, come back in a couple seconds, stir it again. And then it won't stick as much. You won't have big lumps of whatever in there. So now that our pasta's going, we're going to go ahead, get our onions in the pan over here. Hear that nice sizzle going. We're going to go ahead and get these onions nice, start them cooking down, start developing some of that flavor, getting that brown in there, that caramelization that we want. We'll let that cook, and today we're going to be using pink beans. You could also use red beans if you would like, or pinto, or they have the ones called cranberry beans, which are good. We can get our beans, and we're going to take these, and we're going to rinse them off real quick, just to get that extra sodium off of that. Go ahead and give them a nice rinse. Now, these are draining over here. We're going to go ahead and check our onions. See that they're starting to brown up? That's definitely what we want. That's what we're looking for. Go ahead and give our pasta another little stir and make sure it's not sticking together. You'll feel it. When you go in there to stir with a spoon or something, you'll feel it if it's starting to stick to the bottom because it's been there too long or anything like that. come back over here. Now that our onions are starting to brown up nice, we're going to go ahead and toss our beans in. Get that up in there. And go ahead and get those mixed up in there. And then to this sauce, we're going to add a little bit of rosemary, about half a teaspoon. And then a little bit of garlic powder. And we're going to throw in a little bit of black pepper up in there, just to give it a little bit of spice, not too much. And then we're going to want to go ahead and stir those around. Get those spices mixed through. Let them start heating up and releasing all their oils. It's going to bring a lot of flavor to the dish. And then at the same time, I'm going to just take a potato masher and I'm going to crush up some of the beans in there. That's what's really going to help us thicken up our sauce. So I don't like to crush them all because I like to still see the beans in there. Okay, so now I got some of those crushed up in there. We are going to leave that right there. And to this, to help make more of a sauce out of it, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a cup and a half of some low sodium chicken broth. If you have vegetable broth you want to use, you easily do that. Okay. So there we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll add that right into the pan. You can easily make this in a saucepan as well. Just one big enough. We want to get that in there. Okay. And just mix it around. Get those beans that you've broken up all mixed up in there. Spread them around. And we'll get that going. We're going to go ahead and bring it to a boil. And then we'll turn it down and just let it start thickening up. Check our pasta. Make sure it's stirred up, not sticking and clumping together. If you're going to use spaghetti or something like that, I definitely recommend using like tongs that you can go ahead and pull them apart like that. Okay, so now finally we're going to add some chicken up to our sauce. Give us another little protein boost right there. And same thing as we did with the tuna. We're going to go ahead, open them up, drain them out, and then this we'll toss right in the sauce. Okay. So go ahead and drain that. And bring it over to the sauce. Drop it all in there. And then I'm just going to take the masher and I'm going to go ahead and just break it up a little bit. Just to make sure that when I'm eating my pasta, it has a little bit of sauce all over everything. This is a sauce I would like to use for probably like a smaller pasta. Something like maybe like penne or ziti. Something like that that has holes and curves in it that will catch all the sauce and hold the sauce. Okay. Okay. So we are looking pretty good over here. We're just going to let that go, let it come up to the boil, and make sure we turn it down in time. In the meantime, I'm going to throw a little, just some bread, so we can have some bread with our pasta, with just a little bit, just sprayed some oil on there, some olive oil, sprayed it on there, and sprinkled a little salt-free adobo on there, just to make kind of a garlic bread. And I'm going to throw that in here with our meatballs. We got everything going together. Okay. Clear this up a little bit. So just to make sure we have a balanced meal today, I'm just going to make a little salad to go with our pasta. So we're just going to go ahead and start getting that ready. Here's our cutting board. And actually we'll start with the lettuce today, just to make a nice little base there. This is something you can always go ahead and prepare ahead of time and serve, or put in a bowl and let everybody serve however much they want. Okay, got some lettuce. we're just going to go ahead and chop that down nice and fine. And there we go. Fluff it up a little bit. Go ahead and serve it on our plate. And just to add color to it, we're going to add a little bit of red cabbage. Not too much. Unless you love red cabbage, then you can go ahead and make more cabbage than actual lettuce. And then we will get us a little bit of carrot, just to make sure we got lots of vegetables and color as well. If you want, people in your house don't really like carrots because they're too hard and crunchy, go ahead and grate them up on like a box grater or something. And that way they spread out all over the place and they're easier to eat and harder for people to pick them out. For all those picky eaters you got in your house. Okay. Go ahead and get those all nice and sliced real thin. Toss those on there as well. And we'll give them a little tomato today. Round it all out. So we'll go ahead and give them a couple slices. There we go. We got them a nice little salad, quick, easy to throw together. You can go ahead and make a nice little homemade dressing with just some olive oil and some vinegar, and you're ready to go. It's low fat, low sodium. You're all good. Okay. So coming back to our sauce, we see that it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It's almost ready. So we're going to come over and check our pasta. Our pasta has been about 9 minutes. You can always follow the instructions on the box. I like to do most of mine for 9 minutes. It's nice, comes out al dente. Okay. Go ahead and try one of these, make sure it's done. Yep, it's ready to go. So I'm going to get some cold water running over here just to drain the pasta and rinse it off. Not too much. I don't want it cold. I'm not saving it for later. And I'm actually going to pour it back into the pan. And then I will come over here and I'm going to take a little bit of the sauce from the pasta, and or from our sauce, and I'm going to toss it with the pasta. This way I know like all of the pasta has some base flavor, which is good, especially if you're not adding salt to the water or anything like that. And there we go. So we'll get that tossed up in there. And to finish up our sauce, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some Parmesan cheese, or you can use Romano or anything like that. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that right into the sauce. Okay, we got that in there. And then we'll go ahead and stir it in, and that'll be it. We'll be ready to go. So get that up in there, stir it in there. And that Parmesan is also going to help thicken up the sauce as well. Okay. So our sauce is ready. I'm going to go ahead and plate up our plate of pasta here. So, a nice little portion of pasta. And you don't want more than 4 ounces, and that's probably about 4 ounces, just like that. And then we'll go ahead, spoon some more of our sauce over the top. And there you go, you're ready to go. Our first meal is done. And now we're going to go ahead, we're going to get our tuna meatballs out of the oven. Check on those. Let's see. Okay. They are looking nice. So you see they just roasted down, ready to go. And we'll pull our bread out as well. Don't lose it. Okay. Now these we're actually just going to serve up as an appetizer. So let's clean this up here real quick. And I'm just going to go ahead and chop up some of these pita that I have. Just roughly like that. Cut some nice little triangles so everybody can have a meatball with a little piece of bread if they like. Let's see, get these up on here and looking nice. And I'm actually gonna, just to make the plate look nice, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a couple pieces of lettuce on there. Now this I wouldn't worry about chopping. I would just grab some pieces, and you can get whole leaves or whatever, and spread them out over the bottom. Just add a little bit of color on there. And we're gonna come over, grab our meatballs, and we're gonna go ahead, whee, that one broke. Go ahead and get these out and going. And we'll put a little bit more of this tomato on there, on the top. Okay. And there you go. You're pretty much, you go ahead, toss a little toothpick in there. And you're ready to go. You got 2 quick meals you can throw together, or a meal and an appetizer, and you're ready to go. So you can find these recipes and more at gbon.org or visiting our Facebook page or Instagram. And thank you for being here. Next week, just to let you know that we're going to be doing a farm to table program edition for us. So we'll be out at somebody's farm picking some fresh vegetables and cooking the produce that we make. So come join us next week, and hope you enjoyed our segment today. Thanks, and have a great afternoon.